Conor McGregor versus Michael Chandler is in jeopardy, or so. That's what everybody leads you to believe on the internet. We are back. It is the Fight Season Podcast. It's me, Jesse Rowe with Inside Fighting, joined as always by Adam Fishkin. Adam, what's up, buddy? How are you?
Good, brother. Good. How you doing?
I'm doing okay. I'm a little bit worried about this UFC 303. We're gonna get to that, so if you're just tuning in, stay tuned, because we will be talking about the Conor McGregor news that's breaking and changing every minute of every day, it seems. But UFC 302 is come and gone. Islam Makhachev retained against Dustin Poirier. Very strange card. Some exciting fights, some boring fights. No knockouts on the entire card. I don't remember the last time that's happened. Do you remember a card where there was no knockouts? I can't even think of like an Apex card or a bad Apex card where that didn't happen.
No, there was no knockouts all the way from the early prelims. So like literally the entire card had no knockouts, which is crazy. But surprisingly, still very entertaining, I found. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was a little bit mixed reviews from the internet, because I personally have a theory about this, that sometimes it's always like one fight that kind of determines how people view a card. Like, I feel like UFC 300 really is recognized as this historic card because of the Max Holloway knockout, right? It's like this memorable moment. Everybody talks about UFC 300 now, like there was this amazing card because of that moment. I feel like the Strickland Costa fight took a little bit of the wind out of the sails of this event. Very kind of back and forth, boring decision fight. Not a lot happened, just kind of a sparring match. It was a high level sparring match, so kind of got a little boring there. But either way, the main event was absolutely awesome. Dustin Poirier gave it everything he had. It was not enough. Islam Makhachev is the number one fighter on the planet. I don't care what anybody says. That's how I feel. He is the pound for pound number one, no matter what Dana White says about John Jones. Incredible fight, though. He had to go. He had to get into was it the fourth or fifth round? When did he submit him? I'm already blanking on that.
Fifth.
It was the fifth round. That's right. Because one scorecard had it 2-2. I don't know how that's possible. Yeah. But Poirier put up a hell of a fight. But Islam got him with the Darce choke in the end. Incredible fight. What did you think? Did you? A lot of people said that Poirier won the night. You know, Islam won the fight. Poirier won the night. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think that going into the fight, everybody wanted Poirier to win, but like deep down, nobody like truly believed that he could, because Islam's just so good, right? But what Dustin Poirier did that night was give everybody hope for like 20 minutes. And that was extremely exciting to watch. So it was unfortunate ending. He won all our hearts though. And I saw the warm welcome he got back in Lafayette, which was cool to see as well. So I know they're all happy there.
Yeah, he's the champion of Lafayette in their eyes. But I really thought I think in that first round, Islam got him like immediately into like a nasty armbar, and I was just like, "Oh no, this is bad. Poirier is going to get submitted in round one. This is so bad." And then he got out of it, and once he got out of it, I think that he didn't figure out Islam. I think he just sort of figured out how to manage Islam a little bit. And when he cut him open, though, I think it was the third round when he cut Islam open, like at the end of the third round, beginning of the fourth. That's when I was like, oh shit, there's a real chance here. Poirier's got a shot. That's when I started to believe. I tricked myself into believing that this was actually possibly going to happen. But just an incredible fight. They both won fight. They won fight of the night. Islam got the double performance bonus, fight of the night, performance of the night. But he was I don't want to burst a lot of people's bubble. Apparently he was dealing with a staph infection. Islam was. So I do wonder if he might have been a little bit gassed in that fight, because he probably was on some antibiotics. Apparently he took a week off of training. So I don't want to like ruin a lot of people's view of Poirier, but I do think it probably took a little bit out of Islam's gas tank.
To be fair though, I did see reports that I think Dustin was dealing with like a broken rib or something like that, or like a bruised rib, and he wasn't able to grapple for about a week and a half or so as well. So I'd say it kind of evens it out. And even more so impressive, because I think what gave so much hope and life to the fight was when Dustin was stuffing all those takedown attempts. Right. So considering that he was able to do that without being able to train his grappling for a couple of weeks there, that's super impressive.
He also apparently might have done some damage to his knee. That's sort of unconfirmed at this point, but I think he might have hurt his knee too. So yeah, you're right. It probably cancels each other out a little bit. Yeah. But either way, Islam, man, look, I love Poirier. He's going to go down as probably arguably the greatest fighter that never won an undisputed championship. But Islam Makhachev, man, like
I
these
know.
Dagestani guys, they get a lot of hate. This dude is special. He's truly special. He's truly remarkable. I think he's pound for pound number one.
Yeah.
And
I'd say
there's go ahead.
sorry, I was gonna say he arguably cemented his spot in like the top 5 greatest lightweights of
You
all
think so?
time. Yeah, I think so. I think it was really impressive. I think as soon as he tries to kind of go up, then we'll kind of see. But he's probably like one fight away from like truly cementing it in everyone's eyes. Top 5, and
There are some
then
good ones, but I agree with you. I think that he
yeah,
really did take a
yeah,
step forward in this fight. It was a legacy fight for him to beat a guy like Poirier, but there's some good lightweights in there, man. There's some really good ones.
that's fair. That's fair. So with that being said, I mean, who are the top 5 lightweights of all time in your perspective? And I actually looked up a list as well. So I have the top 5 list according to Fight
Wow.
Matrix. So we'll do a little blind ranking, a little comparison here. But who would you put in your top 5?
That's a tough one. I mean, I think Islam's in there now, to be honest. I guess if I was to do it as a ranking, I would put this might be controversial for some. I think personally, I would put Charles Oliveira as my 5. Uh, I would put BJ Penn as my no, okay, I'm sorry. I would put Frankie Edgar as my 4, BJ Penn as my 3. I'm going to bump Islam up to 2 because I think that he's a couple wins away from potentially being the number 1 of all time. And then the great eagle, Khabib Nurmagomedov, I do think is probably the best lightweight of all time.
Yeah.
It's always a moving target with these. I think it's always everybody's opinion varies. I know people don't like these Dagestani guys being at the top of it, but I think what they've done is just they're 2 of the best fighters in the history of the game, and they're 1-2, in my opinion.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. I agree. Fight Matrix had a very interesting list. So they had Khabib at number 1,
Yeah.
BJ Penn at number 2.
Okay, they put all right.
Yeah. Eddie Alvarez at number 3.
Wow, they put Eddie at number 3.
Yeah.
Okay.
Dustin Poirier at 4 and Islam at 5. So I
I don't
think what they're doing is more so I think they're taking volume into account as well. So I think they're taking all of Dustin's fights and they're giving him some points for that, even though he wasn't the champ in that division. So
I mean, Charles Oliveira, though, he had like this incredible winning streak. He has like the
yeah,
most submissions in the history of the
he's number
division. Like,
7.
yeah, but he submitted Poirier.
I
Islam
agree with
beat
you.
Poirier. Islam beat Oliveira. Like, I mean, it's just
Yeah,
like, I mean,
yeah,
Oliveira beat. Yeah, I don't know. That's weird to me. I mean, I disagree with their list, but I understand what they're saying in terms of like maybe their historical relevance. I guess
yeah.
is maybe what it would be. So.
So I guess you mentioned Habib being 1 and Makhachev being number 2. I saw a tweet earlier today, and it compared the two, and it said who would win if they were to fight each other in their prime, and assume they don't
Oh,
know
I
each
love
other, they
this.
don't have a relationship, right? Because obviously this
Right.
would never happen based off of that. But the specific tweet, and you don't have to take this into consideration, but it did mention in their prime, and it mentioned that in their consideration, Islam Makhachev's prime is right now, so his current self, and Habib's prime, they kind of refer to when he was fighting Justin Gaethje, that was in his prime. So I'll leave it at that. But who do you think takes it?
Wow, you really caught me off guard with this question. I
Yeah,
actually
I
really
know
like
we
this
didn't prep
question.
for it,
Um,
eh?
this is so tough. I mean, look, if you break it down into 2 categories, Habib is the superior grappler, Islam's the superior striker. Islam's grappling is right below Habib.
Yeah,
Habib's striking is way below Islam's. And that's not to say that Habib didn't have some elements of his game that he improved over time with his striking. Like he had a clean knockdown on McGregor in their fight. The thing about Habib's striking was it was so much based on the threat of his grappling. The threat
yeah,
of his takedowns were so dangerous that he was able to get clean punches in when people thought that he was going for the takedown. He was able to drop and then clock you. This is such a tough question. Habib was relentless, man. I mean, he like never got hit. Habib never lost a round. I think like in his
yeah,
career. it's really close. I lean Habib, but I think Islam is there. I think it's a draw, if I'm being honest. I think they would just end up going to a
That's a
draw.
cop out.
But if I had to pick, I would say Habib.
Yeah, no, I feel you. I feel you. I would say that there's like a few different ways to look at it. So Habib, like we said, greatest lightweight of all time. This matchup doesn't take it away from him, you know. But like you mentioned, I think Islam's the better all around fighter. While Habib has grappling over him, and he also has mentality over him, which I think is might not be getting enough consideration from some people because, like you said, Habib is relentless, right? Um, I would actually still lean towards Islam to win. Um, and could be some recency bias, but I just think Islam's grappling is also really good. And Habib's grappling is kind of like what put him over people, right? So if Islam can control that while outstriking him as well, you'd imagine he wins, at least
Yeah.
based on decision. Maybe he doesn't finish him, but that's kind of my thought process there.
Well, I like that. And there's also, Habib is the more the natural lightweight, whereas Islam is probably more of a natural welterweight. He's fighting in a weight class lower than he probably should be, where Habib is definitely much more has the frame of a
Yeah.
lightweight. So I think it's a great question. And Habib never knocked anybody out with a head kick, whereas Islam has. So
Yeah.
there's that too. But it's a
Yeah.
great question. It's one for the ages. One we'll never know the answer to, but we do know that Habib beat Conor McGregor. This is my great segue into this topic. Habib did beat Conor McGregor. So we'll switch over to UFC 303. What a disaster it's been the past 3 days for the UFC. Just a total PR nightmare. It started on Sunday night where they put out a tweet saying that the press conference that was scheduled for Monday in Dublin has been postponed until further notice. And Conor McGregor and Michael Chandler were supposed to be at the E3 Arena or something. I forget what it's called. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah, that's right.
in Dublin, and they they canceled it, and nobody knows why. They did not provide a reason. Conor McGregor put out a tweet saying that a series of obstacles that were out of his control prevented the press conference from going forward, but still said he looks forward to putting on a great show in the octagon. So as of then, everybody was like, okay, this is weird, but the fight is probably still on. And then overnight, these tweets start going out that apparently they pulled the pre-order for the pay-per-view from ESPN Plus, and they pulled the free fights that UFC posts of Conor McGregor versus Nate Diaz and Eddie Alvarez. They pulled those free fights that they had just posted off of YouTube. And so all the speculation is there. There was mixed reporting that Conor's dealing with an injury. That turned out to be a misquote from a reporter named CC Legaspi, who said he was speculating that injury could be one of the reasons for the cancellation, not that it was the reason. Yeah. And who knows what the hell is going on, but either way, it's been a disaster. And I mean, I'll let you give your takes on, what this all says, but do you think that the fight is going forward? Do you think it's being canceled? What do you think is going on here?
I think it's all speculation until the UFC says something, but I'd probably assume that the fight's still on. Conor has never pulled out of a fight before.
Right.
Which is really important to know because I saw some tweets saying he's a pull merchant and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So definitely not the case. So it's safe to assume that if the fight does get canceled, it is something serious. But with the tweet that Conor put out the other day, or the day of, apologizing to all the fans about all of that and stuff like that, felt in a way like things were still on. I don't know. It didn't feel like he was canceling the fight. He was just like, it felt like apologies for the inconvenience. And if it was like some sort of serious injury, I don't know if he would have put that tweet out. Now, on the other hand, the way I interpreted Michael Chandler's tweet, and I think he put it on Instagram as well, is it was like, plant seeds of doubt, hashtag UFC 303, and then he had some other things underneath it.
Yeah. He also posted a Martin Luther King quote.
Yeah.
While this news was breaking, it was a Martin Luther King quote about how we deal with adversity or something like that. What was it? He said, I'm sorry. He said, I think I sent this to you earlier.
You did, yeah. He said,
The ultimate measure of man is not where he stands in moments of comfort and convenience, but where he stands at times of challenge and controversy. Uh, Quoting Martin Luther King in this moment, I don't. It was kind of
Yeah.
funny in my opinion, but planting seeds of doubt. I thought was an interesting thing. What do you think that means? People think that it's like, is he suggesting it's head games from McGregor? That this is all head games. How would the UFC go along with all of this and pull the pay-per-view and all that stuff if it was just mind games? That doesn't make sense to me.
Honestly, the way I interpreted it, it wasn't that it was the UFC or Conor playing mind games with Chandler. It was the UFC, Conor and Chandler playing mind games with us, the fans. And in a way, looking to get people to talk a little bit more about the fight and get people more excited about the fight.
Wow.
That's personally how I looked at that tweet. Um, so yeah, and then the Martin Luther King one, I almost felt like um, that Chandler might have not agreed with the decision to cancel it, you know, and then that's
Yeah.
the adversity that he's working through, you know.
But he
Um,
also Chandler always posts like weird, like
yeah,
inspirational quotes. So it's hard to read into too much of what he is. But Conor
super.
McGregor did actually put a post out there. It was a photo of him and his wife actually, him and
I
his
saw that.
family, and it said something about God. It was
I think it was just
oh,
like,
here it
thank you,
is.
God.
Thank you God. It was a
Yeah,
photo of him and his family, and this was when this news was like going crazy. So that's cryptic in its own right.
yeah,
What
yeah.
I don't know. I
It's
really don't know. I
You can
mean,
read into it so many ways. First impression that comes to mind is that like that there could have been something on Connor's end that would have forced him to cancel the fight, and then he's thanking God that it didn't go through in that sense, you know. So it's another positive for us fans that the fight will go through.
or there's
Or
literally Chris Curtis, I think it was somebody, a fighter, put out a tweet saying that he heard like rumors that Connor re-injured his leg, and Connor famously snapped his leg against
yeah,
Dustin Poirier. And now that's total speculation. We don't know that for sure at all. That's not even. That's just like
yeah,
everybody has a crazy theory out there, but it could be a minor injury that would push the fight back. Like it could literally just be like like a staph infection or something that
yeah,
could push the fight back. That would put the fight in jeopardy. Um, who knows at this point? I mean, like I'll be honest, you're a little bit more optimistic than I am. I've been one of the people who's from the very beginning said I think that this fight's going to happen. I think Conor McGregor will be back in the octagon
yeah,
again. People who said that he wasn't, I thought were crazy. I still think we'll see him again, but I am concerned about this fight. The UFC to cancel a press conference and to pull their paper pre-orders for a pay-per-view down for a fight that has one of the that they said has the highest gate in UFC history. There's huge financial implication here, and they if they were to actually did pull the ESPN Plus pre-order, that would imply that they're scrambling for a new main event because I guess the rules are is that when you advertise a main event on a pre-order, you have to issue a refund if that main event doesn't happen for the pre-orders. You have to issue refunds. So they would only pull the pre-order down if they're scrambling for a new main event. Uh, who
interesting.
knows if that's the case? Again, that's what I've read. I don't know 100% if that's true or not. That's just what I've read. My understanding of it is. So, man, if that's the case,
Yeah,
this sucks for Michael Chandler, dude. Like this really
super.
sucks
He's what?
for
He's
Michael
37
Chandler.
years old. He's been sitting out for 2 years waiting for this fight to happen.
Yeah.
It,
Yeah.
like we were chatting about it before this. You mentioned this is not that he's ever hinted at retiring or anything like that, but at his age, it could be his retirement fight, you know?
Well, it's
So
certainly the fight that would pay for his retirement. Like even if he
correct.
keeps fighting, this is his quote unquote red panty night. This is like
Yeah.
the one that's gonna like give him money beyond fighting so that like he can retire a little bit
Yeah,
earlier and have his faculties in order. You know what I mean?
totally, totally. Yeah, so
So
I guess we'll have to see what happens, but with that being said, if McGregor versus Chandler is canceled, who do we wanna see next? What do we want the main event to look like?
oh my god, bro, because it has to be something good.
Yeah,
Because I'm gonna pull this up here and UFC 303 main card. It's not looking good for the UFC 303 main card, Adam.
no.
I gotta pull up their website here. Sorry, I should have had this ready to go. Um, Hold on. So as of right now, I'm looking at the UFC website. Wait, I'm tripping out. Where is? Oh boy. Okay, no, it's still there. I was freaking out. I thought McGregor Chandler was no longer on the UFC website. I
Yeah.
was literally in real time. I was having a. We're going to cut this part. Don't worry. So we're looking at the main card here. You got as the co-main event. You've got Jamal Hill versus Carlos Ulberg. That fight already had a falling out. That was supposed to be Jamal Hill, Khalil Roundtree.
Yeah.
So that would then you've got Myro Buena Silva versus Macy Chiasson, Joe Pyfer versus Marc-Andre Barrow, and then Ian Gary versus Michael Page. That's a good fight. My guess is they're going to bump that fight up the card a little bit, hype that one up a little bit.
Yeah.
But that card is looking rough. So they would need to salvage this card big time. The fight off the top of my head and that everybody is suggesting could happen here would be Michael Chandler versus Max Holloway for the BMF title. In Dana White's press conference at UFC 302, he was saying that they were working on the BMF title right now. But he also said that he was flying to Ireland for the Conor press conference. So I don't think that they already knew something was going on when he made that statement. I know I've seen a lot of fans saying that. I don't think that's the case. So Max Holloway versus Michael Chandler for the BMF. It's not the fight Chandler wanted, but it's a way for him to get a payday, and then maybe they fight for the winner. Maybe McGregor fights the winner of that fight. If it is an injury to McGregor, maybe that's the case. You fight for your chance to fight McGregor for the BMF. Another one is Alex Pereira versus Yuri Prohaska. They could potentially move that up for the light heavyweight championship, put that on the card for International Fight Week. You have two international fighters. If those guys are willing to fight on short notice, I think that's a good one. Those are the two fights that I think make the most sense, other than maybe Charles Oliveira versus Max Holloway for the BMF. That would also be an awesome fight. And I think that would be a good way for Charles Oliveira to get back into title contention, but also still remain, I think that would be a good fight. So those are the three I can think of.
Yeah. No, I think those are
Sorry, I
all
rambled
three
there.
good
But
shots.
I got super freaked out, Adam. Like I was looking at the website and I didn't see McGregor Chandler there, and I thought they removed it. I was like, oh shit, and
Yeah.
that was not.
No. I think that those are all good shouts. I honestly don't think you can make a better fight. A better fight than the three you mentioned. I just really hope Chandler McGregor happens. As soon as like Islam submitted Dustin, I was like, damn, the next pay-per-view is gonna be crazy too. So I hope that doesn't change.
Well, here's the problem. I don't think you can replace Conor McGregor with anybody.
You
I
can't.
think that you're
You
going to be
can't.
disappointed no matter what.
Yeah. Like out of the three you mentioned, I think the one that makes the most sense is actually Alex and Yuri going at it.
Yeah.
Just moving that one up a little bit if they're open to it. But the most fun fight to see out of all those would probably be just Holloway versus anyone.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
It's tough, man. This sucks.
Yeah,
Let's hope that this is all just
I
speculation.
agree.
You know what I mean?
I agree.
That's so. Well, we don't know. By the time we post this, the story could have changed, so we apologize. If you're seeing this and we've already got an answer to all this, we apologize. But
This was recorded on June 5th or June 4th at 6 p.m. Central Time. So
yeah,
if it's whatever happens after is we didn't know.
totally out of our control. If it happens 5 minutes from now, we're gonna have to re-record this episode. Just FYI.
Yeah.
So let's. I do want to go into one more thing before we go here. We got a return of Nick Diaz, which, obviously a lot of UFC fans are very, very excited about. Nick Diaz is back. He's going to be fighting in Abu Dhabi. Is it a pay-per-view? I forget which one it is. I'm sorry.
It's not. It's a fight night in Abu Dhabi.
Okay. So he's fighting Vicente Luque, and a lot of fans were very surprised by that, particularly because Tony Ferguson is going to be fighting on the same card versus Michael Chiesa. A lot of fans thought that Diaz versus Ferguson made sense, especially because Nick's brother, fought Tony Ferguson. So it would be a cool little thing for Tony to do too, is to fight both Diaz brothers. But it won't be. It'll be 170 pounds, Diaz versus Vicente Luque in Abu Dhabi. What was your first thought when you heard that fight? Obviously, we're all very excited to see Nick. This might be his last fight. We don't know, but what was your thought when you heard that matchup?
I didn't hate it, honestly. I know there's been a lot of speculation, not speculation, but a lot of talk on who Nick should have fought. I personally, I know a lot of fans want to see him versus Tony Ferguson. I don't know why we want to see two retirements like facing each other. I think you want to. The reason I like this fight is because Vicente Luque is a ranked fighter, um, and not that it'll put Nick Diaz in the rankings, but if Nick Diaz gets a
Right.
win, it
Right.
might put him in the rankings. Yeah. But with that being said, like if he beats Vicente Luque, it's a lot more exciting than him beating Tony Ferguson, right? But I know there was also shouts of him fighting Kevin Holland. I know Holland mentioned that in the presser leading up to 302. There was
Right.
also I forget.
Well,
I know
he
Nick wanted to fight GSP. That's not going to happen. And I think Colby Covington was
yeah.
another name thrown around.
So yeah, he gave like a list to the UFC. So Nick, when he was negotiating his return with the UFC, because I think Nick, I don't know how many fights he has left on this contract. I'd have to look that up, but I know that when negotiating his return, those were three of the names that he put out there was George St. Pierre, Kevin Holland, and Colby Covington. He also told us once when doing an interview with us that he wanted to fight Izzy or Alex Pereira. So I do feel like they maybe had to like reel him in a little bit into like just to hey let's get you a fight before before
Yeah.
we get to that point, let's see how you look, because the last time that he fought Robbie Lawler, where he was dealing with some injuries. He was definitely not at 100%. I think he's back at 100%. Nick Diaz has been posting a lot of training videos on his Instagram stories where he looks great. He looks like he's in really good shape, the best shape he's been in a long time. So I'm very excited to see him back. I think Nick Diaz versus Colby Covington would be hilarious because the press conference would be wild.
Yeah.
I want to see how Nick Diaz looks before he takes on a guy of Colby's caliber, though. I just want to see how he looks, what state he is at in his career, because Nick Diaz got fucked over more than any fighter in the history of the UFC. Truly, he did. He got a 5-year suspension for smoking weed, testing positive for marijuana, which is now legal. You literally like it's been decriminalized by the Nevada state, by VADA, or whatever testing agency that the UFC has
Mhm.
now, completely decriminalized by the UFC. So you can't get in trouble for smoking weed anymore. He got screwed, like
Yeah.
royally screwed. And 5 years of his career just gone. They just took it away from him.
Yeah.
So, I want him, whatever it is, I want him to get a damn good payday from it. That's what I want.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if it's a big fight, small fight. I want him to make his money because he earned it, because Nick Diaz did a lot for the sport. So whatever it is,
Well,
that's what I want. But
considering
yeah,
this fight's in Abu Dhabi, I'm assuming that's why they chose that.
he
I'm
can't
assuming
smoke
he's
weed.
getting yeah. No, 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 what I'm assuming he's getting a nice payday.
No, I was joking, because in Abu Dhabi you can't smoke weed.
Which Kevin Holland mentioned that's why he didn't take the fight in the presser.
Right, but he's taking it anyway against Luque.
No, sorry, Kevin Holland mentioned that he didn't wanna take the fight against Nick Diaz
Oh, I
because
see what
he
you're
was in
saying.
Abu
Okay.
Dhabi and Kevin Holland wanted to smoke weed leading up to it. But Nick
Got
Diaz
it, got
taking
it.
that break, good for you, brother. Good for you.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Nick Diaz is a professional. Kevin Holland is,
yeah.
being as professional as Nick Diaz is.
Nick Diaz, he said it. He's going for the championship, while Kevin Holland said it himself. He's the best gatekeeper in the UFC, right? So different aspirations, I guess.
I think there's nothing wrong with that, man. Like,
Yeah,
if that's what you are, I
100%.
think I see him as like a hitman for Dana White. He's like the guy that comes in on 3 weeks notice. Like, you need a guy to step in, and he looked good against, however you pronounce that dude's name,
Yeah.
Oleksiejczuk or whatever his name is.
Yeah.
He looked good.
No, you have to give up a lot in life to be at the number one level, right? To
Yeah.
be literally the best in your division in the world. And some people just don't want that, right? So if he wants to be that gatekeeper and that's where he's happy with, he's making good money, by all means.
And he's
Um,
turned himself into a star doing it too. That's the crazy thing. He's turned
yeah, people
himself into
love
a
him. It's the
star just
personality,
being a
right?
gatekeeper. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It always keeps
Interesting.
him relevant.
Yeah.
But real quick, I wanted to touch on you mentioning Nick versus Colby would be like your um would be like a fun matchup in your like that you'd want to see happen. That's like my least favorite one because I don't like Colby, and I think Colby needs to prove himself again versus someone.
That's fine.
And I think
Yeah,
in this fight, Nick is the one that's going to be put out to prove himself, right? Which almost gives Colby like a free pass. I don't want that. So I want to see
that's a good
Colby fight
point.
like Ian or someone like that. Like give him like a young gun. What Dustin did with Benoit Saint Denis there. Make Colby do the same thing with the young up and coming guy.
I'm actually happy you said that because I don't like Colby either. I just
Yeah,
understand like his value in a company like the
of course.
UFC, where he's very much like a WWE character. And Nick Diaz is like one of those few like larger than life characters that the UFC has.
Yeah,
Where I think about like the press conferences. I don't necessarily think about like the matchup. I'm thinking
yeah,
about like what would sell, and I'm just thinking, oh, that would sell. Is
totally.
what I'm sort of. But I agree. Like Colby, like he looked like shit against Leon Edwards. Like I don't think he
Yeah.
should get another title fight, but that's just me.
No, he's got to prove
That's
that he deserves to be in the UFC still. Like that he
yeah,
deserves to be put up in the climb your way back up category. He's not in that right
yeah.
now, you know?
Either way, I'm very happy to see Nick Diaz back. So we'll be
When the
looking
Diaz
forward to that.
brothers are fighting, life's good.
Yeah, he's Nate is fighting next month, Jorge Masvidal. So
Yeah,
that's another matchup of UFC legends. So I'll be looking forward to that. We will be talking about that. But yeah, this was a fun one. We're out of time here. So
let's do it, baby. Good
this was a good
stuff.
one. This was a good one. Let's hope that by the time you see this, nothing has changed with the Conor McGregor news. But let's also hope that the Conor McGregor fight is still on, because I have not been more excited for a fight in a long time than for this fight. So let's
Yeah,
hope it goes forward. But it's me, Jesse Rowe with Inside Fighting, Adam Fishkin with
appreciate
Inside
it,
Fight.
brother.
I'm literally
There we go.
oh, look at that. Are you been working out? Look at you. Look at
Trying, eh?
that.
Not bad.
Nice.
Hey, put me in,
Good.
Dana.
Yeah. I'm old. You're young. Just reminding me. All right.
Hell yeah.
Peace out.
Appreciate it, brother. Talk soon.
Yep.